For those of you that are unaware, there's a local host here in town. His name is Wayne Allyn Root. He's a right-wing conspiracy theorist. If you listen to his show, you'll get it, unless you're biased. And I'd say this was about maybe a month and a half ago. He was pushing this silver. Is that what it's called? Silver alkaline? Is that what it is? The silver product that apparently, allegedly, he said on his Twitter page, alluding to the fact that it could cure the coronavirus.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I criticized for that. I called him some names, some not so very nice names. By the way, I stand by.
Well, you guys basically both had a very passionate back and forth.
Okay, but I'm just giving some background.
Yeah.
So I called him some names because I think anybody who peddles a product with no proof to back up the fact that it can help you if you have the coronavirus or cure you is scummy. That's a scummy thing to do. So what does he do? He complains. He calls up the station. He threatens a lawsuit against me. He demands an apology. I said, all right, I'll apologize to him, but have him come on the show because I want to have a good debate with him. I was very respectful to him, and all I did was question him on some of the horrible things he said in the past. He said October 1, Muslims committed October 1. He said calling somebody old is just as bad as calling somebody the N-word. I could list you 10 or 20, 30 things off the top of my head that he said that are atrocious. So then he said I was mean to him. He said I was negative to him. You know, he said I was horrible to him at the way I treated him in that interview. He called me a putz in the interview. I didn't call him any names. He called me a name, right?
A putz.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. And 24 hours after the interview, the Review Journal fires him. Fired. He's done. And then he gets a cease. Yes, he is a putz. A cease and assist letter he gets from the New York Attorney General. Within a day after doing the interview with me. So I was right. The facts.
Basically, the sky was falling on Wayne Allyn Root after that interview.
Yeah.
Within hours.
So the point I'm making is I was right. He was wrong. So yesterday, I've been criticizing him for this stupid Klan or whatever you want to call it, Trump rally, whatever you want to call it, down on the Strip.
Yep.
And he compared himself to somebody at war, a man or woman in uniform,
a soldier, basically.
Yeah. So I criticized him.
A soldier.
So he goes on his show yesterday, and I want you to have a listen. Somebody calls up and mentions my name, and we're going to break this down for you. This was Monday on Wayne Allyn Root Show. Have a listen to this.
Let's take Ron in Las Vegas on line one. Ron, you're on with Wayne Root. How are you?
Good morning. Good afternoon, Mr. Root. My God, you get through your call screener, you wouldn't believe it. In the meantime, have
He's
you
protecting
heard
me. He's a
Brian
good guy.
Shapiro? Have you heard of Brian? That's debatable. Have you heard about the show this morning that the Shapiro put on with his buddy JD?
No, I don't even care. He's the dumbest human being in the entire world. I don't even want to talk about it. Brian Shapiro is a moron. Brian Shapiro is a vicious, unhinged whackcase, and I don't even want to talk about him. Never again will he be in my vocabulary. I made a very serious mistake.
All right, cut it real quick. Cut it real quick.
Brian, did he say that he wasn't going to talk about you?
He says, never again will he talk about me, and now he goes on a 5-minute diatribe. So here's what I do, Wayne, because I have something called a lot of callers on our show. When somebody calls in and they say something I don't want to talk about it, I call them an idiot, and then I move on to the next caller. Because, see, we usually have full phone lines on this show. Wayne doesn't get any callers. He's on a radio station with literally no ratings, and somebody calls up, and he says, I don't want to talk about Brian Shapiro, and then he decides to talk about Brian Shapiro. All right, keep it going. Go ahead.
I've always been a very nice person. Everyone who knows me knows I'm nice. Because I'm Jewish, I'm friends with so many liberal Jews. And
all right, cut it. What does being Jewish?
He's got a monopoly on.
All right, Chris, you got to let me do the commentary, man. You're not Jewish. I'm Jewish. You got to let me comment on this. What do you have to say about that comment?
I can't chime in then.
Don't be anti-Semitic.
I can't have an opinion on
Don't
this?
be anti-Semitic.
I can absolutely have an opinion.
Don't be anti-Semitic.
Go ahead.
Thank you. You're not Jewish.
I'm not stealing your thunder.
Your name is Chris. All right. Anyway, going back to what does being Jewish have to do with anything? Why is he bringing up the Jewish liberal friends he has? What a dope. Why is he bringing religion into this conversation? What does that have? I don't care what religion Wayne Allyn Root is. What does he care what religion I am? And by the way, I'm not a liberal, Wayne, you dope. All right, go ahead. Continue playing this.
Because I'm Jewish, I'm friends with so many liberal Jews. And I'm so nice to all my liberal friends. And
So
we
nice.
love each other. We just don't talk politics around each other. So I made the mistake of thinking I could be nice to Brian Shapiro. Because you could hate someone's politics, but be nice people and be friends with each other. And he is so mentally unhinged with Trump derangement syndrome. And actually,
All right, cut it. Let me tell you something. I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. Wayne Allyn Root, you have Trump fellatio syndrome, okay? You've never said one negative thing about Donald Trump. You want to talk about derangement? You go on the air thinking that you're the reason why Donald Trump won in 2016. You are on the record as saying you are the reason. You're the one that propelled Donald Trump when most people don't even know who the hell you are. You're a nobody. You walk around town like everybody knows who you are. You see people honking on Las Vegas Boulevard, just honking, and 99% of the people that were at that thing don't even know who the hell he is.
Isn't he the one who said that Trump was the first black president? Was that him?
I think he did say that.
I think he did say
that. Yeah. I
don't remember.
I don't know, Stein. Your track record with Wayne Allyn, I don't know if it's good or not. But what I do know is that Wayne Allyn Root once again says he doesn't want to talk about me. And then he goes on this diatribe. Go ahead, continue playing it.
Syndrome, and actually he's a step worse. He's got root derangement syndrome that he has he doesn't have any ability to be a nice person or to be a decent human being.
Ability.
I don't know if he has kids or a wife. If he does, I'm very scared for them because he's mentally unhinged. I want nothing to do with him. Very, very sick individual. The way he treated me on the radio is the sickest any human being.
All right, cut it. The way he treated me on the radio is the sickest that anyone could ever treat anybody. It's not like, Wayne, it's not like, there's a lot of atrocities that happen in the world. It's not like we're going back to the Holocaust, right? It's not like I'm sending you back to Nazi Germany. You called me some names, I called you some names, but during that interview, all I did was try to ask you questions and hold you accountable to the ridiculous things that you have said in the past. And by the way, he's still preaching that he had 10,000 people at his protest, when police are on the record in the Review-Journal saying there are under 1,000 cars there. And then he claims, well, some of his police officer friends told him that. Does that sound familiar? Because when he was on our show, I said, Wayne, on October 1 shooting, you blamed Muslims for the attack. Muslim terrorist. And he used police officers as a scapegoat on our show. He said that some of his police officer friends told him that, and that's why he wouldn't apologize. So what a coward this guy is.
You have RDS, Brian, okay? I just want you to know that. That's a thing now. That's real.
Yeah, exactly.
He did, in fact, say it. My Wayne Allyn Root trivia is spot on. He said it on his Newsmax show back in February, I guess. A Newsmax host calls Donald Trump the greatest black president and first black president.
Yeah, and this is the guy that says I have...
Not Obama.
This is the guy that says I'm deranged. All right, go ahead. Continue playing that clip.
Has ever treated another human being in the history of the world, and I will never have anything to do with Brian Shapiro again. Have a nice life, Brian. Your ratings are 0, and I destroy you, and you just wish you could get 10,000 people to show up at a mention on the radio. You're a very jealous, psychotic human being.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right, yeah, bye-bye. Okay, so let's do a little fact-checking there, Wayne the Liar Root. First of all, our ratings are not 0. I sent you a text message yesterday, and I showed you our ratings, and your response was, ha-ha. That was his response. I have the text message to prove it. By the way, Wayne's station, I won't mention the station because I have nothing against anyone else at the station but him, but Wayne's station does not show up in the rating books. Why? Because they've decided not to pay the Nielsen ratings to even get ratings. Why? Because nobody even knows that station exists. It doesn't get any ratings. Wayne might get 2 or 3 phone calls in 3 hours. I could fart on the radio and get more phone calls in 5 minutes than he would get in a week. He doesn't have any listeners. He doesn't have any ratings. He's a loser. And then he says, I'm not going to talk about Brian Shapiro. And then he has nothing else to talk about except his stupid little rally because he doesn't have any content. He doesn't have a producer. He doesn't get real guests. He doesn't get phone calls. He doesn't get ratings. And it's the type of people. And by the way, let me add something else, too. I find that people that brag about how much money they have, people that brag about the cars they have and their, the ratings and how popular they are usually the people that are very insecure about themselves. I know some other exactly. I know some other right-wing hosts that do the exact same thing. And I hate to bring this analogy, but I'm going to. It's kind of like the guy who drives this really expensive sports car and has a very small penis. You've heard that before, folks. That is Wayne Allyn Root. Maybe we could ask his wife about that. I don't know if that's true or not. But what I do know is that he is the putz, not me.
And did you address also in that clip the claim of 10,000 people on the Strip, which obviously is
debunked.
Way off because Metro said it was. Did he say it already?
Brian brought it up.
Under 1,000 cars,
Yes.
980 cars.
I'm just fascinated.
Do the math. It's at most 4,000.
Here's my thing on this. I'm just fascinated by how laser focused Wayne Allyn Root is on the topic of Brian Shapiro. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when all right wing media. Remember when the story came out about Donald Trump and the alleged Russian P tape and that whole thing went down? Right wing media was out there saying, this is all just a bunch of hoopla about nothing. But then, what did you hear? All across right-wing media, they just wanted to talk about it.
All right.
They wanted to bring it up.
Well,
they wanted to discuss it.
Let's go back to that.
Because that's
let's go back to that
how
for a
things are
second.
approached.
So Wayne, and by the way, thank you, Wayne, for that diatribe. Appreciate that. Brian Shapiro, he'll never be back in my vocabulary. That he goes on a 5-minute rant.
There was a kernel of truth in there when he was talking about your mental instability.
Oh well,
right.
that's fine.
But
I think anyone who does a good radio show is a little mentally ill. So I
you can always sprinkle in some
fair.
facts, right, Stein? When these diatribes go on.
That's fair. But you know what I don't do? At least I don't peddle drugs that I claim could cure the coronavirus. Yeah. At least I don't do that. At least I don't gloat about how much money I have. At least I don't gloat about, the car I drive, the ratings I have, how important I am. I'm the first person to do this. I'm the first person to do that. You dope. And by the way, later in the show, he explained why the liberal media refuses to interview him like anybody cares. And you know what? I'm not the liberal media. I disagree with almost everything Wayne Allyn Root stands for and everything he is as a human being. But you know what? I was more than glad to have him come on the show because I wanted him to be held accountable for the things he said in the past. But I want you want to talk about deranged? I want you to listen to this audio. He said that I was deranged. Have a listen to this local radio talk show host with 0 ratings, literally, talk about himself and why the liberal media won't interview him. Have a listen to this.
They wanted Carolyn Goodman on Anderson Cooper, but they didn't want Wayne Root because they knew they could exploit her because she'd never been on a tough national interview like that before. I've been on thousands of them, and I've hosted my own show and done them. So you can't crack me. They don't want me on TV. They don't even ask. It's amazing how liberals run away from Wayne Root. What does that tell you? They're all afraid of Wayne Root. Anderson Cooper's afraid. Don Lemon's afraid. You name it. Rachel Maddow's afraid. Chris Cuomo's afraid. They just don't want to interview Wayne Root because I will make them look bad on their show, and they don't want that.
Okay, first of all, you can't crack Wayne Allyn Root. That's what he said. I called him a scumbag, and he got so crazy that he threatened a lawsuit against me. He did, and he demanded an apology. And then he goes on the radio on Monday, goes on a diatribe about me, but you can't crack Wayne Allyn Root. Number 2, there's a reason why Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon and the big national shows don't want to interview, because nobody knows who the hell you are. You're a nobody. That's why. You're going to call me deranged on your show? You're the one that's deranged. Nobody wants to interview you nationally. Nobody cares about you. You're going to call me deranged. Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. When you say something that is not factual, you can say things about. If you want to call me a psycho and mentally ill, that's fine. I don't care. But let me tell you the big difference here between me and Wayne Allyn Root. There's a lot of differences, by the way. I'm not a putz. That's not the first big issue. But here is, to me, the biggest issue. The biggest issue here is this. Wayne can say whatever he wants to say about me on his stupid little show that nobody listens to. Okay? I'm not going to threaten a lawsuit against him. I'm not going to call his bosses and cry like a little girl. Oh, I want an apology. Make sure he apologizes. I've got better things to do, and I don't care what you say about me. We're having fun right now on the radio. We're having fun mocking you because you're a buffoon, and we will continue to do that. So continue to lie. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. What did you say, Wayne? I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Oh, thank you. Yes, you are. But just continue to do that. Continue to lie about me and say we have no ratings. That's not true. All you got to do is look at the Nielsen ratings to figure that out. It's public knowledge. There's a reason why your radio station doesn't pay to get the Nielsen ratings. I think, Wayne, you can figure that out. I don't know if you're smart enough to, but just think, maybe ask some people in the radio business that have been around a little longer than you, and maybe you can figure that out. All right, that's enough on Wayne Allyn Root for one show.